I was previously blown away by the sheer power of the Kugoo Kirin G3 with its massive 1200 watt motor, and I've had mad fun taking that off-road thanks to its superb suspension. But Kugoo said, oh no, we're not done yet, and made the G3 Pro with another 1200 watt motor in the front. That's right, this can be toggled into dual drive motor mode for double the power, and it is, as expected, absolutely insane. There is very little you can't conquer with the Kugoo Kirin G3 Pro, and yet it's still within an entirely budget-friendly price of $1,500. I'm James Bruce, you're watching MakeUseOf.com reviews. Join me today as I go off-road with the incredible value Kugoo Kirin G3 Pro. Let's start with the size and weight first, because the G3 Pro is massive and really heavy, weighing 40 kilograms or 88 pounds. Here it is next to its baby brother, the standard G3, and it stands at a roughly 1.3 meters long, or 51 inches, and 1.36 or 54 inches tall when unfolded. The handlebar is then about 60 centimeters or 23.6 inches wide. It's a big boy. For taller, bigger riders like me, that added height is fantastic, and for comfort and safety you have a long, wide deck, well above average, around 7.8 by 20 inches or 20 by 50 centimetres, and that's not including that rear stand, which you'll almost certainly need to use to counteract the sheer power of the beast when taking off. The design is very much similar to the standard G3, with gorgeous orange highlights and an overall sort of tough, industrial, kind of angry aesthetic. So let's talk about specs for a bit. As I mentioned, there's dual 1200 watt motors giving an insane top speed of 40 miles an hour or 65 kilometers an hour, and that's backed up by a 1206 watt hour battery, which is removable. And it's that battery plus the motors, which is where the majority of the 40 kilogram weight comes from. These are 10-inch all-terrain tyres, air-filled for comfort. It's IP54 splash resistant, so the odd bit of light rain and puddles isn't going to defeat you, but don't completely submerge it or leave it out during heavy rain. Now, in dual motor mode, you really do have to be careful. It has a serious kick to it, and I'd suggest putting your foot right on the back raised kickstand area. The throttle is very responsive, too responsive almost, and the slightest of touches will launch you. If you don't have a firm grip and you're not ready for that burst of power, it can be kind of dangerous. And with something this powerful, you really do need a full face dirt bike style helmet, and consider some kind of body armor as well. For ease of transport, in a similar way to the standard G3, the neck can be unscrewed and collapsed and folded down, then sort of secured to the rear with this clip. Unfortunately, the mechanism is completely unreliable, and I found it just didn't latch on very well, making it very dangerous to rely on that when you were lifting it up. I just had to grab the back and carry it with both hands as well. At 40 kilos, you're not going to be carrying this upstairs. At best, you're going to be carefully lifting it from the knees into the back of your truck or trailer. Now, Kugoo state an 80 kilometre or 50 mile range, though as ever, this is going to depend upon your weight, what terrain you're riding on, whether or not you're using full power. In reality, 50 miles is absolutely not going to happen at my weight, and riding over rough terrain, as well as using dual motors constantly, as I tend to, will reduce that to a more realistic 20, maybe 30 miles. Obviously, using low power single motor mode on flat, easy terrain with a lighter rider will extend the range, but where's the fun in that? You'll find both front and rear suspension via a 4-armed shock absorber, and the rear suspension is also a coil spring. For safety, you have front and rear oil hydraulic disc brakes, XOD brand, which felt very responsive to me. I had no problem braking on this. But also, interestingly, you have a turn signal. Not a lot of use off-road, admittedly, but if you're riding this on the streets, that's a huge safety feature. As well as two smaller lights on the front and rear of the deck, you have a larger light on the front. There's also a rear brake light, of course. You can adjust the light on the front up or down, and it's easy to replace if you need to, which I'll note I did. This thing is so heavy that it arrived with some fairly hefty shipping damage at the front, thanks DHL, and we had to wait for some replacement parts, including the front light and fender. Still, despite all that, functionally, it was actually fine when it arrived, just a bit dented up. In total, there's 11 lights on the G3 Pro, 4 headlights, 4 side lights, and 3 rear lights. That's a lot of lights. In terms of security features, you have both a keyed lock to turn the power on, and the battery itself is, as we mentioned, removable, and that features a 3-digit number lock underneath a little rubber cover. Now, although removable, you do also need to unscrew 2 of the little screws to get it out and unplug it. The plug is pretty rugged, but not nearly as easily removed as some e-bikes where you basically just pull a lever and it comes out. Still, it can be removed to take it inside should you need that extra bit of security. The display is big and easy to read even in direct sun, with obvious indicators for current speed mode, dual or single motor, current charge level and voltage. In terms of performance, it can go from about 0 to 20 miles an hour in around 4 seconds at full speed, though there are 3 different speed settings as well as a quick button to toggle single or dual motor mode. I found dual speed 2 was the best overall setting for me off-road, and I only whacked it up to 3 on particularly hilly locations or really rough trails. So I took this out firstly across the rugged local Cornish moor, where you face a variety of softer grassy areas and really rocky outcrops. And it was unrivaled by anything I've tried before. My wife was also tagging along on an e-bike we were also testing, and it was just unable to keep up. We also then took this out on some actual bike trails and blazed through them on this. I will say it's still a fairly bumpy ride over sort of chunky stones compared to an e-bike, of course, because the wheels are so much smaller. But it did actually handle it fine, just a bit bumpy. And as long as you've got a good grip, you'll be fine. The puddles were no problem. I pushed it as hard as I could in places, and it was just ridiculously good fun. If you do get stuck, the dual drive motor power is so immense that you can just push through it. Hold on tight, get a good grip on the footstand, and just power through. It will handle anything. The inclines were no problem. I just didn't notice them, to be honest, and it was easily my fastest laps around those trails ever, bar none. That said, these tyres are an all-terrain type, not specifically off-road. They're more sort of dual purpose for off-road and on-road, and it was a bit slippery at times. I felt like for how the bike is otherwise built and marketed, going full-on off-road knobbly tyres might have been a better choice. For the price though, I don't think the Kirin G3 Pro can be beaten on features or power. With a maximum theoretical speed of 60 kilometers an hour, 80 kilometers range in ideal conditions, and the sheer power in dual motor mode, it's unbelievable. As I said, this is dangerous and you should wear a full face helmet. It also really stands out a lot, so I wouldn't recommend riding the streets of London on this because you will get stopped by the police. Although it does have great safety features that are great for city and on-road riding. Obviously, it really shines when you head out off-road and as an all-terrain adventure scooter that can handle anything a dirt bike could. This really can't be beaten, and I can't wait to head out on it again. It's not the most powerful scooter out there by any means, and if you spend upwards of $2,000, $3,000, you're going to find scooters even more suited to off-road and even more powerful than this. But as a dual-purpose, overall, powerful, dual-motor device, this absolutely can't be beaten on price and will happily drive over anything. So that's it from me today. I hope this helped you. Do please hit like. If you have any questions, then feel free to drop a comment and I'll do my best to answer them. And do consider subscribing for more weekly reviews, gadget giveaways and more from myself and the rest of us over at makeuseof.com.